All right, so today we're going to talk about how AI can help you do a business validation super quickly and super cheaply, almost free. And what I'm talking about is we all have these ideas in our head about starting a business. It could be a hobby business, a way to make some extra money. Maybe you want to transition out of your corporate 9 to 5 and you have a business idea floating around in your head, but you're really not quite sure how to validate it. And I'm going to walk you through how I'm doing this and what we did to create a brand new business within an hour. Yes, within an hour, and to a point where I can go out and validate it. Let me take a step back and explain what I'm talking about here. Yesterday, I'm sitting outside. It's Sunday. I'm talking to my husband. He's got an idea about a business that he wants to add on to his home services business. And it's basically dealing with grinding up stumps. I don't know anything about it, learned a lot from talking to him, watching some YouTube videos. And I said, you know what? This is not a capital intensive business. It's something you want to test out, but you're not quite sure if the demand is there. So what do we need to do? One, we went into ChatGPT and we did a market analysis. I actually went into Claude and I said, I want you to go within 150 miles of where we live, and I want you to scrape, I want you to pull every single company that advertises stump removal, tree stump removal as a standalone or an add-on service. And I want to know their URL, I want to know their pricing, I want to know where they're located at so I can determine saturation. I can't tell you the report we got back. I got an Excel style report that had 6 tabs, everything from pricing to competitive analysis, giving me a full-blown business plan, as well as, is it a viable business? Is it a go or no go? So you can lean on things like ChatGPT or Claude to help you with market research first. Once we decided that this was a go, in the sense that we wanted to at least test it out, right? We can rent some equipment for 30 days, get the marketing going, and see if there's actual demand in the area that we live. So my husband went to sleep on the couch watching TV on a Sunday night. I disappeared into my room, and I just like to build things. And so I got on, and between Claude, Lovable, and Flux, which is a image generating model. There's different models out there. I'm going to walk you through how I did this. I created a logo, a brand identity with color schemes and fonts, and I created a web page, a landing page that I'm going to show you here. It has everything from who are we, this cute little Stumpinator logo that is very Texas, pricing, FAQs so that I can start to be seen in the large language models from a search perspective, even creating an AI generated quote. So we're going to go ahead and set the process up that somebody can send us a picture of their stump, and AI is smart enough to measure the width, the diameter of that stump, and therefore do some instant pricing and start scheduling automatically. Lots that we can do with AI. 5 years ago, 2 years ago, we would have spent probably minimum $10,000 to even think about putting this website together. You would have to have paid for a graphic designer, a couple $1,000 to come up with the logo, the brand identity, etc. Maybe a developer, if you didn't have the skills to do a simple Squarespace or anything like that with basic coding, HTML coding, paid a developer another $5,000 to build out a custom site with all of the things that we're looking at doing. And it probably would have taken 60 or 90 days at a minimum to get this done. So you're talking 10 grand, 60, 90, 120 days to be able to test a business idea. We are going to be able to do it the website's up in about an hour. I got some things that I got to connect for about $20. Yes, $20. I got to buy a domain and connect everything together in the back end. And we're off and running so that we can put $500 towards marketing, paid ads, get a Google business profile up and running, and test it out. So the ability to start a business in today's environment with AI is reachable for everybody. The walls have collapsed. And if you're a business owner looking to add another business to your offering, or you are somebody that's looking for a hobby business, maybe you want to generate $500-600 a month doing something else, maybe a passion project or just income in some way, or you want to transition out of your 9 to 5 and start testing that big business idea that you know is going to blow up, but you don't know how to get started and test it out. You can do that with AI and automation now with a little bit of grit, determination, some education, and a bit of money. It's crazy what you can do, and take it from somebody that started a lot of business and has spent a lot of money on branding and consultants to do it. It has never been easier than it is today to test something out. So let's go through how I pathed this to be able to get to a point where you'll see a visual of the brand and the landing page. Still a lot of work to do, but I'm going to show you step A through where I'm at now and where my next steps would be. And so here's the prompt that I used for Claude. I want you to go and do an analysis within a 3-hour drive or 150 miles from Fredericksburg, Texas. I want you to search every business that lists tree stump removal or stump removal as a service. I want you to create an Excel or some other analysis tool that provides the URL of the company, the location of the company, any pricing that you can see on their website, and we are trying to decide if this is a viable business for us. So I basically asked it to give me a competitive market research as well as a go or no go kind of preliminary view. And so it took about 5 minutes. It started in Austin, it went off to San Antonio, and it came back with this Excel spreadsheet. So let's take a look at what that is. All right, so I've got 5 tabs. It gave me a competitor database with all of the companies within that 150-mile radius. I can search or do a scraping of their website. I've got phone numbers, the cities, so I can start to see how saturated it is, but I don't even have to do that because Claude is going to do that for me without even asking. What service area, so I can start to overlap or see gaps or overlapping service areas that tell me it's saturated. What kind of services it is it a pure stump removal, or do they also do trees or offer other types of services? And just other notes, just things it found interesting. Moving on to pricing analysis, it gave me how people price by diameter, inches, the low, high, average, note. So it gave me a really solid starting point to see how much money could you possibly make. This is interesting. Without me asking, it went in and looked at the cities, the small towns that are around where I'm at, and the big cities. It told me the distance from where I'm at, so how far would we have to drive, what the population is, how many competitors are in that space, and then telling me, is it a saturated market? So I'm able to filter by any of these, right? So I know that Fredericksburg, Mason, these small little towns are low competition. So these are areas that I could probably exploit. But then when you go into San Antonio and Austin, understandably, there are a larger number of competitors. They're probably busy in San Antonio given the population. So there's probably some opportunity outside San Antonio. Viability. So what are the unit economics? How much can I expect to make every day on a conservative, realistic, or aggressive basis? Cost structure. So what is it going to cost me to start this business? You know, there's some things that we could do from a rental to a purchase and just test it out. But this gave me a really good foundation for how to consider starting and testing, right? And what my break even might be. And then it kind of gave me a recommendation. So the bottom line is it's a viable business in the hill country area, but it's not a land grab. This is a mature business where there is some competition out here, but it all depends on how you market yourself. So just because there's competition doesn't mean that that's a no-go decision, right? Through great marketing, through great pricing, through speed and response to inquiries and quotes, how you differentiate yourself, this is going to help you understand how can I do that and therefore steal away some of that business. All right, so I got some of the data and the analytics down. I can start to build a brand identity with it. And so we went back to Claude after that. And I said, okay, are there any ancillary business ideas that I can add on, right? Not just stump removal, but what else can I add on to this to increase my per visit income? And it started telling me about, backfilling the hole that comes out of the stump when it's removed, and you can haul away the chips, the mess that you leave behind with these machines. You can do some additional root grinding that might happen. So it's helping me fill in the gaps that I didn't even know about, right? What do I know about tree stump removal? But this is telling me what I need to know. And then it went into tree trimming, and this is other stuff that we really don't want to do. So wilt oak is big here in Texas. But again, it's giving you a wealth of information about how to start a business and whether or not you want to add on other ancillary services that can really pump up your income. So then we went back and I said, okay, how can I use AI to sell this? How can I leverage my knowledge on the technology side to help my husband get more clients? And this is where things got really, really interesting. So there's some, discussion about using satellite imagery to look down and find dying trees or tree stumps. That's a pretty heavy lift project, but it is possible. You can, if you're going to get into other services like oat wilt predictors, so that's a big business here in Texas. It's not something we want to do, but you can start to use AI to do that. The photo to quote is something we had already planned on doing. So somebody could send in a picture of their stump with a object that gives us some relativity to size. I can take AI, figure out how the diameter of the stump, and create a workflow to automatically push back an estimate and a calendar booking link that they can pay on the spot and make their deposit should we choose to go that way, and fill our calendar automatically. So not a lot of back and forth with calls. We can finish that. Before and after property renders, so we can give people a visual of what their land would look like without these stumps. AI can do that in a heartbeat. And there's some other things that we could do, mining city permits. There's just a bunch of other things that we can do. So AI is helping me not only figure out the pricing, the product, but how to market it. All right, so then I went in and I said, okay, all of this sounds great. I need you to help me create some names. Okay, so I need something that makes sense. And there's a company kind of close to us, and I liked their name. It was witty. So I said, give me some fun, witty names. I didn't want to be, Fredericksburg Tree Stumpers. I wanted to make this a very fun, brandable company for my husband because tree stumping is pretty boring in its root, but your branding doesn't have to be. So I had it kind of brainstorm with me to come up with some taglines as well as some names. And we ultimately ended up on Texas Stumpinator, which is kind of a play on the Terminator series and movies, and just kind of, hasta la vista, and just having some fun with it, right? Anything could change from a marketing perspective, but I could see that brand, and you'll see it in just a second. So we went through that, and then I said, okay, is there any legal issues? So we could do some scouting, and we went through that process. And then I said, well, let's go with some logo ideas. How can you help me refine this visually? We've got a great brand. I need good, strong colors. We went through that process, and it started to give me some bold, colorful, nice, but not really what I was looking for. And so we went down this path of going back and forth and kind of said, I want it very Texas. I want it, the Terminator kind of started to pop up, and you can see these graphics starting to change. These are just initial visuals to help you brainstorm. This is not meant to be your ultimate visual. So we kind of went back and iterated all of that. We ultimately settled on a cowboy that is a cyborg cowboy. Terminator, Stumpinator in a cowboy hat, and that's where we at. So I said, okay, I need to create the logo and I want to kind of start to nail this down. So I kept going with Claude and I said, give me prompts, text to image prompts for Flux, or tell me the right model of image generation to help me create this ideal logo version. And I need it to be able to consistently turn back the same image, right? If you start out with a logo looking a particular way, a particular style with a particular color scheme, you want to be able to mimic that in your other brand pieces. You don't want to have to start all over. So I kind of built that, and it gave me several prompts that we went and tested out. It gave me some idea about pricing, so I know where my costs are going to hit me. It gave me the ideal version of Flux that would do what I wanted it to do. All right, so let me see if there's anything else there. So we continued on with the prompts. We refined it. I gave it a visual of what an actual stump grinder looks like, so it could kind of build that into the prompt. And all right, so from here, I went into something that's called fal.ai. It is a platform that allows access to different types of models, different types of image and video models. And based on what Claude had told me, we started with this one down here. Okay. And I simply took the ultimate prompt, or the last prompt that it gave me, and iterated in it. So I took the last prompt that Claude gave me and I went back and forth until I found what I liked. Okay, so let's go back and see. And you have to do some tweaking here. This is not once and go, right? You have to be able to go back and forth until you get what you want. So it gave me a visual of just the machine, which was fine. All right, so I'm going to start to show you some of the iterations that we went through. Not bad, but just too dark. You can't really see. I'm visualizing what this might look like. And so we did some tweaking to the prompt, came down to this guy, which is getting much closer. And all right, so at the end of the day, we settled on 3. I did probably 20 or 30 iterations. It cost me maybe $3 or $4 and came across with 3 that I really liked. I think I ended up with this one right here. So this is our new logo, right? It's pretty clear. I've got the fun kind of Terminator. This is the tree stump removal blade. Very, very clear. So then I went back to Claude and I said, okay, I've got my mascot. I need to start building a Lovable landing page. So if you've never used Lovable, it is one of the fastest growing AI website landing page builders that people are using to vibe code with. You basically give it some instructions about what you want it to look like, the style, you throw in your logos and any graphics that you want, the copy that you want for your website, and it builds it for you really, really quickly. So that's what I'm doing here. I said, let's develop the copy first. Let's nail that down. It started to come out with that process. Gave me an FAQ spec section, my CTAs, what my footer might look like, the brand voice, the colors, the fonts, some ideas to upgrade it, even a meta description. So it gave me a lot of information. And then we started to have a conversation about how the text would work with an image to get an estimate really quickly. So we're going to table that for later, but Claude can help you with that. And then I said, okay, well, let's start to get a prompt. Go ahead and give me a prompt for Lovable to be able to create our website. Give me a Lovable prompt to build this copy. And that's exactly what it did. All right, so here is Lovable. This is where you would go to start a project. It's very simple. I'm just going to take my copy that Claude gave me. I'm going to throw it in here and I'm going to hit go. Now I've already done it. I'm going to show you the end result. But once you hit go, it's going to take all of 3 to 5 minutes. and it's just going to do its thing in the background. You're going to see it building, you're going to see it doing all of the things that it needs, and it's going to come back with a rough first draft. And that's what this looks like. All right, so it gave me a header up here. I can add particular areas to it, menu items and pages. It's got my logo. I don't know that I'm happy with it in a white box, but we can change some of the design. This is a first iteration. It's pretty clean. It's very fun. It's very bold. I love the branding direction that we're going. Got a stump, simply text us a photo. You'll get a quote in 60 seconds. Got my call to action. How does this work? How do I get a quote? Honest pricing. So we want to be transparent. So it's by diameter. Here's the particular quote. Here are our add-ons, the things that we can bump up our revenue with. And then if you want the full enchilada or the full termination, you can text us for a quote. We are doing this for property managers, HOAs, Airbnbs, ranches, contractors. This is more for SEO and AEO so that we have that on our page. We've got some fine print here. We only do stumps. We don't want to be in the tree business. We just want to get in and get out and not cannibalize that, but instead get referrals from them. So again, thinking about strategy, more SEO. What areas do we service? Some initial testimonials, that we want to continue to add on as we do work. And then FAQs, which is huge for AEO. You want to get listed in the LLMs, ultimately set yourself up now so that you have that going on, how it works, pricing and service, and logistics. And then yet another call to action. So a very strong first blush website that simply came from an initial discussion with Claude an hour earlier. This took me about an hour, and honestly, the back and forth here was what took up the majority of time, is getting the front end piece, the planning down about how the business might work. Now, what's next? Nothing is connected here. The URL is not connected. It's kind of live, but hidden. The call to action, so clicking on this would make it a text, or a click to call. This would be a text so that you could load up, and it should give some information to send the image in the right format so AI can make the right decision for you. All of this just needs to be hooked up on the back end with calendars. So we'll add a book your appointment right now that will go to a calendar, and automations will start to send confirmations, reminders, links to pay deposits, and ultimately links to pay the invoice once the stump is removed. So lots of backup things that we need to do here. But right now, we could do a lot of this manually, just answering the phone, put $500 into a Google ad campaign or a Facebook ad campaign for the next 30 days. This costs $20 to maintain a Lovable account and another $20 for Claude. We've got Go High Level on the back end to handle all of the client management stuff, so that's already in place, but you can get that for about $97 a month. And that will set up all of your automations to send reminders and calendars and links for payment. So you can do all of this for a couple $100. Think about that. A couple of years ago, just to get to this point would have cost us $5,000 to $10,000. All of this graphic design, all of these icons, this custom logo, this would have cost thousands of dollars and months of time to get to a point where you then have to spend the money on ads to test it out over 30 or 60 days. That's a huge sunk cost for a business that A, you're not quite sure is something you really, really want to do, or B, that there's a huge demand for it, or C, just don't want to waste your time. So what did I use here? We use Claude for a lot of the strategy and competitive analysis. We use Claude to develop prompts to find information as well as to create images. We used Lovable to create the front end design and the front end website. And the back end will be Go High Level, and we'll connect the URL with a GoDaddy domain purchase. Not a lot here, but think about that business idea that's been stuck in the back of your head for a long time and you don't have the money or the time or the inclination to throw into it. You can get this done now very cheaply with AI and automation. But if you want the instructions, the software, the tools, the prompts that I used, the general flow, just comment validate down below and I'm going to send it to you. Share with me what you build. I want to see you test this new big business idea out and do it before somebody gets to it before you. So happy building, and follow me for more tips on how to use AI as a business owner.